Hey everybody! In today's video, I'm going to show you an oldie but a goodie technique, and that is a faux tile technique. Now, I've chosen these texture block stamps for a couple of reasons. One, they are perfectly square, so it's very easy to line up a simple geometric pattern. But two, because they are abstract and work really, really well with this technique. Now what I'm doing is I'm going to score off some 1-inch squares into this cardstock, and you'll see I'm really going over each score line using a ball stylus, and you will see why later on. The depth of your score marks really makes a big difference in how this technique works. However, if some of your score lines are a little too shallow, which some of mine ended up being, then I'm going to show you how to fix it. Now you'll want a card panel size that is divisible by 1. So I actually ended up cutting a little bit off of this one so that all of my squares are 1 inch, which is about the size. It's a little bit smaller than these stamps. And so they go perfectly over the intersection of each of these lines. Now, I've chosen the botanical stamp. It's really pretty, and I'm trying to make what is going to look like a wall of backsplash kitchen tile. So I'm choosing a blue, so it's going to have like a Delft sort of look. And I'm stamping it over the intersection of the lines so that you can really tell that this is going to look like tile. Now use your handy dandy stamp scrubber to clean this off, because you are going to have to position the stamp again in a different spot, and you don't want to get ink all over it. Now the scored lines are a good guide. They help you sort of line up these stamps, and like I said, they're perfectly square, so it's easy to do. And I'm going to make them touch diagonally. I'm going to make kind of a checkerboard pattern. Now here you can really see how those faux grout lines stick out if the score lines are deep enough. Top left, mine wasn't quite deep enough, and then I'm going to show you how to fix it. The key to fixing it is choosing the right size ball stylus. I chose the larger end of mine, and there's a reason for that, and I will reveal that secret later. Don't be impatient. I'm getting to it. I love this color. This is indigo. And it's important that you pick a hybrid, one of the hybrid line inks for this, because of the fix that I'm going to give you later for shallow grout lines. So here I'm just building my checkerboard kind of from the inside out, and I will speed this up a little bit so that you can watch me be super duper efficient and fast while I'm setting this up. I don't normally stamp this quickly. But you will also need to, after you've kind of filled out the center portion, you'll need to flip the card panel a couple times in the MISTI to get the edge pieces. Now you could design your card size around not having the little edges, but for me, I'm making a scenic card that's going to look like a kitchen counter. And so I wanted the field of view to be kind of natural, something that you would view in a kitchen where it would be going off to each side. And so I did not bother trimming that down. Now you can see I got a little bit of ink in that corner. The genius of this technique is that absolutely does not matter, and you'll see why. So I'll finish up a couple of these little edges, and you can see how straight this is and how even, and how you're starting to see like a tile wall emerge from this little piece of paper. This is such an old technique. This is from the late 1900s. It's actually one of the very first techniques that I think I even learned, and I remember what a wow it was when I learned it. It seems so basic now, but it's still fun. It holds up well. Everything old is new again. You know how that is. Now I'm taking a blending brush, and we're actually going to blend all 4 edges of every tile. So to start with, I'm just going to blend the edges of the entire wall, just because that's a quick way to get it done. You will be doing a lot of masking of each grout line in order to make the tiles look like tiles. So getting this edge done all at once really helps. Now, the reason that I chose the size stylus that I did is because it is exactly the width of my favorite white gel pen. So you can see it's about 1/8 of an inch. And whenever I do this technique, that's the size that I use, because then I can just put my white gel pen into the shallower grout lines that ink got into and just go right over that ink. That is the reason that you want to pick one of our core inks that are hybrid, because they will not react with the white gel pen going over the top of them. It won't bleed the color, etc. It just won't be activated by that pen. So those two little tips, just look for that on the back. See where it says hybrid formulation? That is what you want. And we have lots and lots of colors of those. But you know I love blue. You know I'm going to make my tiles blue. That's just how it's going to be. So I was lucky that my favorite blue is one of the hybrid inks. So I'll just touch up any of these that aren't actually going into the ink blended portion, just looking over it and making sure that any shallow lines have been fixed. Now you want to place some masking paper or tape on top of the grout lines. You're covering up the grout lines for each square, and then moving that tape and covering up the grout lines for the next square. And then you just want to ink blend around each edge. So that's going to mean that every tile is going to be lightest at the center, and your grout lines, as a result of blending around the edges, are really going to pop out as white grout lines and really make this technique a true faux tile technique. It's so easy. I just kind of used the ink that was left on my brush from going around the edges for most of the first row. And you can see how that really starts to look like tile. So I'll really speed this up because this is very repetitive, but I wanted you to see the entire process. And I just reuse the tape again because this is a hybrid ink. It's not going to reactivate every time I go to ink blend a new section. And so it makes this process easy and not messy at all. Now I took 2 longer strips to do a whole row at a time, and then you just move the shorter horizontal strips to mask those grout lines, and it actually goes really fast, even if it's not sped up like I'm speeding it up here. This was, I don't know, a 15-20 minute card, maybe. The longest part is actually just lining your stamps up where you want them and cleaning them, because you do have to clean them in between every single time. Now, obviously, the larger you make your tiles, you can change the look of it. You can make big, like Saltillo style tiles that are much larger. You can make them different sizes if you really want a realistic one. That's like the tiles in my house. We had them so they're all different sizes. And you can create all kinds of fun flooring and walls with this technique. And you can see what I mean with the grout lines just popping out of that tile wall. It really looks like a kitchen backsplash. I alternated the direction of the leaves on each row for a little bit of interest, like people do in their kitchens. And here is the finished card. I took another strip of paper that was just white cardstock, and I shaded it with gray for the countertop, left the kind of edge banding white, and then underneath that used caramel ink and direct to paper to swipe down to create what looks like wood cabinets, and then just touched all of those up with alcohol markers for this card's finish. I hope you've enjoyed this. Thanks so much for watching.